people will come up and they'll be extremely emotional and they'll tell me their story and they'll be crying and all of those things. And I kind of just really hold space because that's the truth is I don't always know the perfect thing to say. I'm not a professional. I'm just a person who really fucking cares and loves people and wants us all to be here, but I don't always know the right thing, you know? So for me, if I was witnessing that in my own life and there was someone that I was worried about in that aspect, um, I would check in on them a lot more through text message and in person. I would try and hang out with them a lot more, because community and like knowing that someone is like there, but also physically there with you. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything at all. It's just the fact that they're there with you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by the one and only Crazy Ant Media. Today, we are very excited to dive deep into this mental health issue, this national, worldwide issue. Let's be honest about it. We're going to be talking about suicide. We are releasing this a couple days early on Monday so that we can make it in there in September. But we're super excited because we have Nadine Crocker on the show to dive into everything that she has wrapped around it. We're going to be talking about her film, and we're just super excited because we had her on ItCaf podcast, but now we're having her on Everything's Okay. And man, oh man, first off, before we dive deep into all of the emotions, all of the darkness, I guess you could say, how is your day going? How are you doing? Because you're anywhere and everywhere right now promoting this film, and I'm loving seeing your face all over my feed. I'm not going to lie about it.
Oh my God, I love that you said that. I'm good. You know, I said today is like the first time I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Because in between, you're putting together your next films, you're promoting the one that you're on now. I'm a mom to a 7-year-old who doesn't give a shit that I make movies.
That's
So he's
right.
like, no. That's great that you're doing press for that, but make my sandwich, do what I said, you know?
That's
So
right.
it definitely, it's a balancing act, but I feel so grateful to be where I'm at right now to finally have continue in the world. So even on your exhausted days, I'm still just so excited.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Well, and the whole process, probably just getting it now into the world and for the world to see it finally, that process, exhaustive in itself. Trying to just, I know the journey that it's been for you and how important it's been. Since we first had the opportunity to meet you and talk to you, we know what a passion project this was for you and how important it was for you. So it's so great to finally see it and see it launched and everything. But I want to kind of start though with the whole, because for people who might not be familiar, it's based on your actual story. You are an actual survivor, and you have had up and down battles with mental health and struggles, and you've been very open with it. And so let's talk about that, because your story is very inspiring. But I think that a lot of people don't realize, you know, they see you and you're like, oh, you're a filmmaker, and she's doing this with Mel Gibson, or she's been on this show or that show, and they don't know that struggle that you went through, what you've overcome to get where you are now. And so I want to talk about that. Talk about your journey with. Let's start off, I guess, with the mental health issue, because you've had battles not just with the suicide, but mental health in general, right?
Yeah, because what's really funny is I was speaking on a panel and they were going over everything that's encapsulated in the words like mental health, right? It's almost like a spectrum is what I call it. It's like, you know, it varies. And as they were naming everything that exists within mental health and what is a mental health battle issue, you know, I realized I had like all of them. So it was like, you know, I'm 9 years sober. And so addiction is under there. I have OCD, which makes me an incredible filmmaker, but can make life hard, anxiety, panic attacks, like depression, suicidal ideation, like, you know, so life is constantly evolving. And the thing about the mental health spectrum is that statistically, I believe that there's more people who struggle than there are who
Mm.
don't fall somewhere on that spectrum of, you know, maybe you've never experienced depression, but you do have anxiety, or maybe, you know, it's just such a varying um spectrum. And what I find is the more that I talk about it and the more that I talk to other people, you realize how many of us out there that there are that battle with this, you know? So that's a really amazing feeling to know now what I didn't know at 23, which is that I'm not alone in that, and that there's so many others that struggle with these, you know, battles. And so yeah, I mean, starting back to it's even what you just said. You know, a lot of people, you're a filmmaker, you're this, so a lot of people might not know that you're a suicide survivor and all of these things, and that mental health has been something I battled, and that goes back to that's because so many times it's the strong one or the person who has a smile on,
Yep.
or you don't really know what people are going through. I am the person that I'm pretty sure no one would have assumed that I battled as deeply and as I do, and I did, you know, and it will be something I deal with all my life, you know. Yes, I am out of the darkness that I was living in at 23, but I still have good and bad days. I mean, what we just talked about, I know you guys know this, like we're doing what we love, we're having conversations that we love, all of these things, but it doesn't mean that we don't all of a sudden get exhausted. And if you
Exactly.
stop caring for yourself, all of a sudden things start creeping up, and it's just like, you know, it's a thing that we will all always probably deal with in some way or another, you know. So yeah, my story, I went through the hardest year of my life at the year of 23. That my film Continue is based on like one night of that journey, and there's little flashes that show more of the journey, but you know, in that year I made many attempts on my life, and I was really struggling with suicidal ideation. I also come from a family of suicide, so
Mm.
you know, I do believe that when someone does it in your family, you real like it almost makes it acceptable to everyone else that's in
Yeah.
that family. You realize it's a really real option that people make every day. And then no one really talks about it to say, like, that's not true. This is not something we should do. This is not something that should be acceptable in any way. And that if you're feeling that way, I love you, please stay. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and so that's something that I kind of discovered later on my own, is that, like, yes, when you come from a family like that, it becomes more acceptable, but it's also mainly because we don't talk about it. You know, we don't
Mm,
discuss it. Like, I didn't even know that my grandfather passed by suicide until I was at an older age, and it came out through a joke that my
mm,
dad was making, because often he'll make jokes about trauma,
mm-hmm.
you know, because that's how a lot of us deal with it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I battled with a lot of different struggles on the mental health spectrum, and I'm here today as a survivor, and my main mission is just to talk about mental health as much as humanly possible, so that other people out there listening realize that, you know, they're really not unique in this. There are so many of us who struggle, and there are so many of us um who feel alone. And so I think through these conversations with beautiful human beings like you, we can show people out there more and more that they're not alone.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. And I love literally everything you just said right there. There's so much to unpack. It gets me so excited because I also love talking about mental health. It's definitely been something that's like a generational type of thing in my family as well. You know, going way back to even before I was born, my mother attempting, and then once in my lifetime, she attempted again. So there's so many different things to unpack with generational trauma, and then seeing it from a parent standpoint, also seeing it from different friends' point of view as well, because like yourself, where it kind of became acceptable, that's how you deal with things. In my high school, if somebody was going through something, they committed suicide. There was at least five people that I knew in my high school that passed away from that. So it was definitely something that was very, you know, not frowned upon, but also not being talked about as much as it, you know, this is not how we handle things. So it's always very interesting to see how people approach it from all different walks of life, because you try to think about walking in other people's shoes, trying to figure out what they're going through and figuring out how you handle situations through other people's experiences. At least that's how I try to do things. And then when you see something like that, you're like, okay, so this is how we handle it, which is not the way to do it, not the case. So it's very interesting too, because like I try to think about when was the first time I ever had a suicidal thought. And I think I go back to 13, 14, probably around that age. There was a lot of things happening with like distance from my father. My mom and I weren't really getting along, living under the same roof. So just trying to balance all of that out. So it's a very interesting thought to have in these conversations, to where, when did you think you started to have these bouts with mental health or even thoughts of suicide in your life?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful question that I don't know that I've actually like ever really pinpointed, because I was already cutting myself and hurting myself by the seventh grade.
Mm.
And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know how old that is actually.
Like 12, 13-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which sounds
Yeah.
about right. I feel like
Right.
that's when we start to kind of have those thoughts, or taking action almost more so. Like I
Yeah.
start to get that confidence in making doing things like that. I don't want to say confidence, but honestly, I think for me it was like, how can I get them to help me? Because no one asks if I'm
Right.
struggling, and I am really struggling, But when
Mhm.
I think back, like, because I come from a lot of childhood trauma, and um, like a lot of volatile emotion, and
Mhm.
at a very young age. And so a lot of times I think about it and I'm like, I think I had thoughts of escaping that at a young age. I don't know that it was
Mhm.
immediately like suicide, but definitely, like, I still say this sometimes. It's like, I'm not suicidal, but I'd really like to go to bed for a week and come
Mm.
back when
Mhm.
all this shit is
Yeah.
over. And it's like, and to me,
Yeah.
that's suicidal. It's just like, no, I don't want to die. I just don't want to be here. And it's like, so I started to make those distinctions of
Yeah.
like, okay, am I stuck in the darkness and I'm trying to die? You know what I mean? And it's so
Yeah.
the fact that I kind of made those different distinctions of like, how do I break down, like, what am I actually feeling? Is today a day where I don't want to be here, or a day where I would like to sweep through the month? It's just like
Right.
sad when you think of how early on those thoughts came, and how early on the cutting started, and then where it progressed to. And there were times where it got a lot worse, and then there were times where it got a lot better. I mean, I think we all know
Mhm.
that we have like these moments where we kind of work through it. But I think that one of the hardest things about that, and like one of the things I always like to say, is like, it was very much that dark, and that taking actions into my own hands at that early an age, because nobody talked to me about mental health.
Right.
No,
Mhm.
like,
Right.
Yep.
my family did not talk about mental health. They did not talk about emotions. They actually, like, even to this day, like, I think my to air my family issues, I think the number one problem we have as a family is that when traumatic or big bad things happen, it's like, sweep it under the rug. It never happened.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Same.
That
Same.
exact thing happened with, like, no
Right.
matter if I was having huge emotions and I'd
Mhm.
like, it'd be clear to them, like, she is not okay. And then it's like, but we don't talk about it the next day, and let's just pretend like it didn't happen. And then my
Right.
dad
Right.
have a day where I'm like, he's fucking clearly not okay,
Yeah.
but we don't talk about it. And like, we're gonna sweep that under the rug, like that didn't happen either. So I think the number one thing, again, like, I always like to come back to like the hope is like, if we can start having those conversations, I think we can, and especially at much younger ages, man, it would be such a huge thing for our youth, I think, and would help curb the rates of suicide we're seeing in our youth,
Yeah.
Not
Agreed.
to mention,
Mhm.
like, I'll always touch on, um, that we educate them. We don't educate them at all.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This is my biggest pet peeve, and the thing I would like to see change the most is like we teach you about sex, we teach you about
Mhm.
physical health and like what you do when you go through puberty, but we do nothing to teach you about what to do with the emotions that come with that puberty or with like your first
Yes.
period or your first fits or your it's just
Hmm.
like we don't talk or teach them enough about life skills that they're really
Yeah.
gonna need, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my God. So, so much there because like I love what you were saying about how because for me it was very young too. Like I think that the first time I really started having thoughts like that, I wasn't aware that they were thoughts like that. Because it was after my dad died, and I'm 8 years old, and you start to think, well, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be where dad is. I want to, but you're not aware at 8 that that's a thought you shouldn't be having. You shouldn't and death has been really prevalent in my family's life. It's a massive thing. I mean, there's only a handful of relatives that are left. Almost everybody's gone. And I had a lot of abandonment issues. I felt abandoned. I felt like all these people were leaving me, and I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be them. And I think the first real thought of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my life is when my little brother died. And it was like, this is it. This is the last straw for me. I just want to be with him. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm tired of people leaving me. And this is what I'm going to do. And thankfully, I had somebody in my life at that point that said, no, you're not. I see you. I hear you. I'm here for you. You're not alone. We're going to get through this. So thankfully, because not everybody has that. And I want to go back to what you were saying about, we don't talk about it. There are always warning signs, but people don't talk about the warning signs. They don't talk about what they saw. They kind of, like you said, brush it under the rug. Oh, no, we're not going to talk about that. I was literally, when I was bawling my eyes out and making statements like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Oh, man up. Man up. You got to be the man of the house now. You got to do what you're supposed to do. You cry. And so you start to shelve all that stuff. It doesn't go away. You're still feeling it. You're still thinking it. You're still going through. But now you don't say it. Now you're trying to hide it. And if somebody isn't there, if somebody doesn't see it, then we start to get in trouble. And so it's so critically important, like you said, you keep coming back to that. If somebody would just say something, if somebody would just see me, hey, how are you today? Oh, you don't look okay today. What's going on? Let's talk about it, kind of a thing. And we just don't have that enough. And so, I'm so thankful that that people like yourself and that it's becoming more prevalent now. No, let's talk about it. Let's make sure everybody's okay. Just because in my opinion, if you see somebody that's always happy, always smiling, life is always great, I'm betting it's not. That's the person you should be asking, what's going on today? How are you really? Because, that's a mask. And I think not enough people see that, right? Not everybody's that. It's like you said, we all go through a bad day. We all hit that wall. So if somebody's always happy, always on, always great, that's the person I'm most worried about. That's the person I'm reaching out to going, hey, what's really going on today? Let's talk about it. Because you seem happy, but I know you're kind of off. What do you think? What's the best way? Because everything that you were talking about, what do you think is the best way to see those warning signs for somebody? Because it's not always easy for somebody to just go up, right? You don't want to go up and say, hey, I know you're full of shit. You're going through something and I'm going to save you, kind of it. Nobody wants to have that conversation. So what do you think is the best way to approach somebody that you're seeing some warning signs and you want to be there, but you don't want to do it in a way that's going to make them retreat, right? How do you think the best way to approach that is?
I mean, this is where I go back to too. Like I have so many psychiatrists and psychologists and people that I talk to now. And I ask this often and how do we handle it? Especially because I don't always know the perfect thing to say either.
Right.
Especially at the screenings, things like that, people will come up and they'll be extremely emotional and they'll tell me their story and they'll be crying and all of those things. And I kind of just really hold space because that's the truth is I don't always know the perfect thing to say. I'm not a professional. I'm just a person who really fucking cares and loves people and wants us all to be here, but I don't always know the right thing, So for me, if I was witnessing that in my own life and there was someone that I was worried about in that aspect, um, I would check in on them a lot more through text message and in person. I would try and hang out with them a lot more, because community and like knowing that someone is like there, but also physically there with you. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything at all. It's just the fact that they're there with you. And the other thing is being a completely safe, judgment-free zone. Like that's the one thing about me. Like when anyone who knows me and anyone who's in my circle, it doesn't matter what it is. Like it doesn't matter how outlandish or how bad you think it is in your mind. You kind of can't say anything that scares me. I've kind of done it all or been through it all or
Yeah.
all those things. And so I have always tried to make it very clear to the people in my life, like I am the safest place you could ever come. Nothing will ever make me leave you or love you less. And I always want to be the person who's there for you, you know, because I feel like I desperately searched for acting, for this, for that, because all I wanted in the world was to be seen. And I wasn't, you know, I think we all are desperate to just be seen and connect with other people. And so again, I would say like, how are you today? You know, and listen, the thing is to avoid is judgment comments that will make someone close. Like, is something wrong? You seem like you seem off, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's more
totally.
like even if they do seem off, that's not helpful because now they feel like something's wrong with them or
Right.
they're doing something wrong. So I better mask that or I better, you know, like sometimes if someone's struggling that I love, it's like, how are you today? You know, what's been going on? And or maybe like if you do sense something, it's like, you're quiet today. Is everything okay? You know that you can always talk to me about absolutely anything, right? You know, and so I think that it really varies on the person, and how necessarily to get them to open up. But I think, again, the best thing you can ever do as a person who has a friend or a family member or someone who's struggling is to just show them that you care also. Like, you know, when I do have a friend who is maybe struggling or I'm starting to notice, because I'm also sober and sometimes there's indicators of like, what's the term? Like a prelapse, like where it's like they're starting to do things that you're like, uh-oh, okay. And so sometimes I'll be like, I'm going to invite them to go to a meeting every day until they say yes. Like, you know, for me, I'm also in the program and different things like that. So I'm like, I'm going to ask them to do that. You know what? When I saw that person, they seemed down. You know what? I'm just going to hit them up every day and see if they want to hang out, see if they want to go for a walk, see if they want to do that. I think, again, it's just really being, making yourself available and showing them that you're there and that you care. And that's kind of like, because sometimes it depends on the person if they're going to also open up and share with you. You know, you can't make someone share, but you can definitely support them and make them feel safe to share.
And let them know you're there. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so Logan and I and my daughter as well, we do it every day. There's a guaranteed text every day. How are you doing? How was your day today? It's just something that like it's in the morning or at the end of the night, but it's a, hey, I know you're there today. I just want you to know I'm here today. Everything is going to be okay. You know, kind of it's so critically important because like you said, I think that all anybody wants is to be seen. And sometimes that is definitely the difference between life and death. The darkness or the light is knowing somebody sees you. Yeah, it's so incredibly powerful. It really is just that simple little thing. It's amazing.
And that's what I say all the time too. Like at those screenings, at those different things is like, I really am not saying anything most times. I'm crying with them half the time because you can't listen to someone's story and not just be emotionally, just feel those emotions. You know, for me, I'm an empath. So I half the time I'm crying with them. I'm just standing there with them. I'm letting them feel seen. And I don't always know the perfect thing to say. But what I constantly try and tell people is like, sometimes you really don't need to say anything at all. Like, again, like sometimes I'll just sit with people and quiet and like, you know, put my hand on them or just like we're just there together because sometimes there really isn't words either. It's like you lost someone that you love. What can I, a stranger here, say to you that's going to change
Right,
that? Nothing
right.
other than I'm so sorry. And like, I know the pain that you're feeling and like, and I love you and I support you, you know, like I'm here, I see you, you know. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that that's beautiful. Again, these are the conversations we should be having because, you know, maybe I need to start a group chat and I need to do it. Are you okay? Every day with the people I love because I'm pretty good at checking in, but like we all get busy. Like, look
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
now. So it's like, it's a nice reminder and also having like a commitment of like, hey, if I don't check on you, you know, within a day in our group chat, always check in with me because maybe I need it, you know,
Yeah,
like
that's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and especially when you're able to put that into your art and what you're able to do in all of your films, and being out there kind of on your press run right now, being able to talk more about it with so many different people, with so many different audiences. I think it's so beautiful. So when you're telling a specific story like you are in Continue that very much mirrors your real life, is that terrifying? Is that exciting? Is it hard to watch? Are you happy to watch it because of the result it has with the audience? Like it kind of gives me anxiety a little bit about it just because like I can't imagine putting myself in that situation, but I look up to you so much for doing this because you're telling your story and you're telling your truth and it is impacting so many people. And so first of all, I just want to say thank you for that. But at the beginning, was it a little scary to tell your story like this?
at the beginning. I'm scared right now. You know, like it's just the truth.
Yeah.
Like I think people just they're like, you're so brave, nothing scares you. I'm like, are you out of your freaking
Like,
mind?
what are you talking about? Yeah.
Like just because I do something doesn't mean I'm not terrified as I do it. Like,
Right.
you know, I did a live interview on the news the other day. I'm like, I don't want to be live on
Yeah.
anything. Like, I need to be
Like,
filtered and edited. Like, because I'll tongue tie, I curse like a sailor, like things like that, you know? So it's like, it's not scary. I just do it anyway. I put one
mm,
foot in front of the other and I do it. And yes, it was extremely scary and naked. Like, I felt naked because
right.
the truth is, my whole life, as a child, through all of my life, I've heard she's so dramatic, she's so emotional. That's our actress, always, you know. And so it's never
Hmm.
been fucking supportive comments. Parents don't
Right.
say that stuff because what you touched on earlier when you heard "man up," all I thought to myself is, "There's our little actress."
Yeah.
And my mom is she's rolling her eyes somewhere right now, being like, "That's not what I sound like." No, but that's what it sounds like to me because
Yes.
it
Yeah.
felt like such a dismiss of the pain I'm feeling. And maybe you could look at those emotions and go, oh, like maybe she needs, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, can
Mm,
I help? Like, you know, all those things. So such a complicated answer. Yes, I was terrified, especially in the beginning because I was like, will people think I'm crazy? Will they say really mean things that again now makes me feel worse about myself and my mental health? Like, what is this going to be like, you know? So yeah, I didn't know, but I did it anyways. And the thing about it is that I changed. Sorry, I had to like think of how I wanted to
you're
No, yeah, you're
good.
good.
think about it is how I changed a lot of things. So it's not identical to my story, you know, I will say that. And I felt that that was really safe for me because if it was an identical mirroring of my life, that would be very scary to go back to because I'm essentially putting on my old skin, not a character's.
Right.
So I very much approached this film in particular with the grace of this is a character, Dean, that I'm putting on. And there are varying differences between us. And that is, you know, like that's not me. And yes, I've been through that darkness, but this is a character I'm taking on, you know? And so I put a lot of things like that in. And also because I didn't want people, like, this is where I always go back to why I also varied the story from my own, because I didn't want people, I wanted people to like do the right thing. And I didn't always do the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
for
want
sure.
to repeat my patterns of like, it took me a lot longer to get help than I wish it would have. And I didn't go into the mental institution. I fought it tooth and nail. So like there's differing things that I wish I probably wouldn't have ended up struggling for much longer and then eventually, you know, finding help and doing the things that I did if I would have just told the truth and gone into the hospital. I lied through my teeth. And like I was like, I'm not going to show people A, how to cheat the system. B, I don't want them to do what I did. I want them to do what I wish I would have done at 23, you know?
yeah,
Differing things like that. So and I had a responsibility to not give people, you know, that's why they say don't cover method too much. Like I'm not giving you the tools to how to end your life. I'm not giving you the tools of how to not get help. I'm giving you the tools to show you what you should do and what I hope you'll do and educate you on different things about mental health. You know, so there's so many different aspects to it that I put in place to keep myself safe. You know, but the thing, it was really hard. It was, you know, I when I really sit and think about it, it was really hard, you know. But the difference is I had tools in my toolbox I did not have at 23.
yeah, yeah.
And I have to believe in myself in those tools and know that I have learned and I do recognize the signs now. And I have an army who keeps me sane, you know, like I have a psychiatrist, I have therapists, I literally have a life coach, I have a meditation coach, I have a nutritionist, I have a, you know what I mean? Like it really does army sometimes, especially when now I'm always on the go, you know?
Yep.
So it's like, it's very easy for me in particular to be like, no, I'm not going to eat all day because I'm stressed and I have anxiety and I have this and then I have the next bucket and then this and that. And then I'm like, set a timer in my phone so that I always take a bite at this time or do something, you know, or like a thing that reminds me to drink water, which is vital for being alive, you know? So it's, I had to trust the tools in the toolbox, but I also had a community around me while making this movie that I knew would never let me get lost in the darkness. And
I
so
love
again, goes back to community. Like
Yes.
So critically important. Your circle, your community, your tribe, whatever you call it, it's so critically important. I want to say that Dean, I think that you did an amazing job because I always felt the entire time I was watching, there were numerous characters in Dean. I felt like I knew so many different people watching her. I knew a person that was like that. I knew a person that was going through that. I knew another person that was and I could see so many different complex people in that one character. And I think that it's amazing the way you did that because I don't think anybody can sit down and truly watch this film and not connect to Dean in some way. Which is what the connectability is what makes this whole thing work, in my opinion, because the opening sequence, you have to get through the opening sequence first, because wow, is that intense. And you've got to get through that and go, okay, whew, all right, I made it. What goes on now? What happens next, right? Because you're like, oh, shit. I was just like, I don't know if I can finish watching this right now. It was so hard but it was so realistic. And then there's so many points that you had one of my favorites is when you're talking to the new boyfriend and you say, an alcoholic always wants that drink, right? And somebody who's sad is always going to have a bad day and this and that. And you're trying to relate to them. So somebody who has suicidal thoughts or who has tried to kill themselves is always, oh, I ran out of gas today, I'm going to kill myself. Oh, I did this, I'm going to kill myself. Because that thought is always, I felt like that was such a powerful conversation and moment because that's true. It never actually truly goes away. That's always there. And even though you've got the tools and even though you've got the help and you've got the tribe and everything, you are still going to have days. And that is still going to be a thought. And that is still, so the idea that you addressed that and did it in such a way that it was so powerful because making the comparisons, because everybody's got something, right? And so the way It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful the way you did that. And yeah, I just cannot stress enough. I really, the way you developed the characters, the friendships in the mental institution, and the way that developed, and the way, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the lifelong, right? It's like, no, we're family now. This is us. This is how we're gonna do it. It's so critically important that that's there. And when Dean has the relapse, the I think it's one of the most courageous moments. Also, is when she shows up. She's like, no, I'm going to do this again if you don't open this door and help me, because this is where I'm at right now. The idea that somebody, after the moment that she had, because she was going down that scene again, right? She's smashing bottles, she's smashing mirrors, she's doing her stuff. So the know-with-all to go there and say, you got to open this door because I'm in trouble. That was so powerful. And talk about that, the casting of Emily, and like, holy crap, that was so good. That's so good. The whole cast is phenomenal.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And by the way, I didn't want to interrupt, but that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie that you touched on, by the way. It's like an alcoholic is always going to want to drink, and
Yes.
bulimic, that whole thing. That was a conversation with my mother trying to explain
Yeah.
how a girl like me could have suicidal ideation. Like, how could you not want to be here? And that's exactly how I broke it down. And that's when I like realized that's the movie. That's the explanation. Like, and again, I have battled with all three of the things that I'm talking about in that conversation. So I also feel like the reason people resonate with it is because there's truth in it. And I know that personally because, like, I have battled all of those different things. So, thank you for bringing attention to that scene. And then and telling me that you connected with it, because I love that. And to know that you connected there and felt that.
It's literally the scene I pitched the movie to everybody for. Like, you got to watch this movie, and there's this awesome scene. Like,
I love that. But yeah, so finding Emily, I mean, I had incredible casting directors on this project. They've cast some of the biggest movies in the world, and, so many Oscar winning films on their slate. So I was very lucky to get to work with them and to have like, their relationships to get to pull from, and all of that, of going to incredible talent. So yeah, everyone who was on this film was an offer, obviously, because they're all extremely ridiculously talented actors and very much working actors. And so I just knew in my gut that these were all actors, A, I respected, B, that I, had a feeling that I'd connect with. But all of them were, an offer pending a meeting, because again, I had a very serious idea of how this film needed to be made. And the dynamic I wanted to create on set was like a very family dynamic of support and love. And if we're going to these dark places, we're going to do it hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every member of my crew or producers or anyone who was attached to this film had a connection to the subject matter. So again, it was so much more than a film. I think it was, for all of us, it was a mission, a movement we hoped we were going to create. And it was like almost like our personal way of chipping away at this thing that stole time and happiness and people we love from us, So it was so freaking personal. And so when I sat down with all of these people and kind of explained, A, why I was doing this, B, what I would expect, like what we're all going to go through to create it, and then C, what I need in a person who's going to dive into this, like of the creating the family dynamic. It was just always clear from the second I met any of them, Emily, any of them, Shiloh, that they were my people. I mean, they're just incredible souls, period. Like I have a pretty good judge of character, and I had a feeling they'd be amazing. I was blown away when I met them. They were so much more than I could have ever imagined. They're just incredible artists and human beings, and many of them have been in both of my films now. And so yeah, I was just so blessed, honestly. And Emily in particular is the kindest soul you've ever met. She attached to this film very much so because of the message and the mission. And it was like a freaking masterclass, honestly, having her across from me. And and getting to direct her, but then also direct her by changing my tactics and like everyone, it was just kind of like this cool experiment of like, okay, I'll whisper this in your ear, but then I'm going to change this and see what that evokes in you. And it was just like these deep conversations afterwards of like, oh, and then we're like diving in further. And it was just like, it was an experience unlike anything else because they also knew it came from truth. It
Yeah.
came
Right.
from my pain. It came from my struggles. And I think because of that, there was such a tender love and care that everyone put into it. And I think that that's what makes the film so special. I think you feel that, it's more
Absolutely.
than a movie. I know it because I've made other, like, we've made movies, but this is different. You can feel how personal it is.
You can. You can.
Most definitely. And I mean, that's kind of how we felt starting this podcast, with us diving into our own mental health struggles and, everybody around us having their own baggage that they're working with, just trying to figure out life and realizing that none of us really ever have anything figured out. And it's okay. That is really okay. So like we talk about this podcast being our biweekly or weekly therapy sessions. Was there any moment on set with other actors or any people in the crew that you felt like it was a therapy session, like that was a bigger reason like why y'all were supposed to be there?
I mean, every day really did feel that way. Like,
Yeah.
and I say that because, it was something actually Leo Tipton talked about in an interview is she's like, I've never experienced a family dynamic or a safe space like there was on Continue. Those kinds of spaces don't really work like existence on set
Mm-hmm.
because, it's a job. We're all there to do a job. She's like, but you could be
Right.
in any corner and there would be crew or people together talking about like their deepest trauma, their
Mm.
deepest pain, their loss, their, just struggles or whatever else. It really was just the most beautiful experience. And I heard so much of other people's life experiences just through being on that set in between takes and different things. Just like everyone. I mean, that's what I was talking to Dale the other day, and I was just like, just through us talking, and she remembered much about my life, and I remembered so much about her, and we were talking, and I'm like, it's really crazy that I know some of the deepest things about this woman whom I love. And we've only really met a few times. Like,
Yeah.
like she didn't get to be on set that long. And we've had years in between. And when the movie was over, she was literally crying in my arms because it was the first time she saw it at the premiere the other day. And I was like crying in hers. I'm like, well, I remember that you said and you told me. And she's like, but you told me. And like it was just like, man, that doesn't exist, like
It doesn't.
such a special. So like it always felt that way. But again, before every take, before I even went on camera, I would literally hit my knees and be like, whoever this scene is for, because there's a reason it was written. Like, I believe I channel when I write and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a higher purpose, a higher, power. And so I always felt like there is a specific person that this scene is for. And so then when I went into acting that scene, I was like, whoever this scene is for, let me be the vessel and let
Mm.
whatever flows from me be exactly what it was supposed to be, And then I think it was it takes things from being exhausting to empowering because you're trying to be of service to something else. You're not thinking of yourself, which can be like, and acting in different things. It can be a very like me, and I tend to notice that anytime we turn things from being about me, and to about who we can help, who we hope sees this, and make it about being of service, it's always going to be a more beautiful result or thing at the end. So, um, yeah, I just feel so lucky. I just truly do believe though the right actor comes to the right project.
Oh,
People will be like, "Oh, I'm so bummed. I made an offer to this person and they said no." And I literally can say from experience, it's like it's divine intervention. You don't understand. It's leading you to where you're supposed to be, and we don't know that because we think we know what's best, but I promise you, there's a better plan here, you know?
That's right. That's right. The quicker everybody understands that we're not in control, there's something else going on that puts you where you're supposed to be with who you're supposed to be with at the time you're supposed to do it. The whole thing gets a whole lot easier when you figure that out. I promise you. I got to tell you though, it is so unbelievably beautiful to talk about making art, making a film that ends up because this industry, let's be honest about it, this industry is built on judgment. You are judged for everything in this industry. The way you look, the way you sound, the way you act, the way the movie was shot, the way you wrote it, the way you did. So to put together this project and have it be a completely non-judgmental zone where everybody felt safe, where everybody could be in a corner talking about their darkest times, that's an unbelievable testament to you and to everybody involved in this project to be able to create a safe place like that to tell this story, because this story is not safe. It's something that it can go off the tracks in every which way if it's not done properly. So to bring it all together in the way that you brought it together and to create that safe zone, it's a beautiful thing. And one, I want to give shout out where shout out is due to Lionsgate for having the courage to say, okay, we'll run with this. We'll do this. Because, there's a lot of studios, a lot of people that are like, this isn't a pill we kind of want to feed the audience. We love everything about it, but we just don't want to tell it. We don't want to put, and so for the courage for them to go, no, we're going to do it. We'll put it out there. This is something that needs to be shown. That's a beautiful thing. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Rachel Bilson also involved, right? Is she not like a producer on this as well? So you have really like a lot of people, like you said, that were just like, I've got to help tell this story. I've got to help get this thing out there. That's a beautiful thing. And I think that is a strong testament to you and who you are and how people feel about you and what you're doing, because it's just an incredible thing. It really is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I do want to give a shout out to Lionsgate in particular. There was two people who really made the difference. It was Barry Brooker, who it runs Grindstone Entertainment at Lionsgate. And we met on Desperation Road, and he's just believed in me. He's offered me other projects, and we have a beautiful relationship that's unfolding, and he just has made me feel so supported, and he really wanted to support this message. And mind you, let me just say, I think that this is clear to everyone, and everyone knows this. Lionsgate is not an art house drama distribution company, and either is Grindstone. They primarily do thrillers. Yeah. But they really believed in what I was trying to do and the mission and the message. And then my second shout out is to Amelia Rogers, who is the head of all marketing at Lionsgate. If she hadn't come in and been like, I promise that we can market this, and there is a way to market this, and that we can help people, and, we will gear it around World Suicide Prevention Month, because that was something that was really important to both me and her. And it's hard because, you hear September, October, you're like, that is not a great idea. There's all the big hospitals, all the big things. Yeah. To us, we were like, you know what? It's worth the chance of getting lost in the sauce, because what that month means and what we knew would happen and we did witness happen was that more people were inclined to support it, because it was also World Suicide Prevention Month. Yes. And they wanted to be the person that during World Suicide Prevention Month elevated a project that was all geared towards suicide prevention and had an aspect of charity and all of the things. So it was just, it was like the perfect storm. And again, God just put the people in my life that I needed to know. And who would have thought that my Mel Gibson thriller would end up bringing me the home for my indie art house drama, and Lionsgate and them would take a risk on me on the film. It just, I'm so lucky. And Rachel Bilson, to speak to that, she's one of my best friends in the world. Her and Olivia Allen are both EPs on this film. And they just wanted to see this message and this film find the world and everyone in the world to hear, to hear our message. So I'm so lucky. But again, that's how it works, right? Is, we don't know how it's going to happen. We just have to keep the faith and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And because I thought the world was ending, that my second film was beating my first film out. I was just like, this is fucking It's not a debut film if my second film comes out after I had a debut film, but it's still not out. Like, because it had shown at a bunch of festivals, and it was like, Crocker's debut film continue. And then Desperation Road's like, our debut film. And I'm like, you can't have two debuts. Like, which one,
Yeah.
And so I thought it was the end of the world. But again, it's that divine plan when I freaking let go and remember that I'm not actually in control, and that if I can have faith in the unfolding plan and just wait to see, like, it's that Steve Jobs quote, you can't connect the dots looking forward, only looking back.
Yes.
Like, you're going to quote this, but that's the truth. I knew I just had to put one foot in front of the other and just keep going. And eventually, now I see the plan. Now I see that there was one, but when I was in the thick of it, I sure as hell didn't.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, Nadine, you are such a rock star. I'm not even gonna lie about it. And I mean, my ADD kind of kicked in a little bit during the interview because I'm really wondering, how many necklaces do you have on right now? I'm really curious.
So many.
I was
Literally,
like, did
I've
she count?
never counted them, but way too many.
Love it. Love it.
I love it. Like I said, you're a fucking rock star, and I love it. Every time we get to talk to you, have the chance, it's always a beautiful conversation. We love it. As always, open invite to either podcast. It does not matter if you want to come and shoot the shit or if you want to come and talk about mental health again. We are here for it, but we want to give you this opportunity to do more plugging. Where can people watch the film? Where can they follow you? Where can, they do all the things?
Yeah, so Instagram is the social media that I use the most. So for any updates on like the film, the nonprofit, me, my life, at Nadine Crocker on Instagram. We also have Continue the Film on Instagram, and then Continue on Org is the nonprofit that I created to coincide with the film. The other thing I like to tell people when given the opportunity, so thank you for giving me the opportunity, is that part of the proceeds from this film actually go to charity. And so I took a portion of my points and I donated it to charity, and I partnered with other nonprofits that are already creating change in the space. So Bring Change to Mind, Half the Story, and then the third is almost officially done, but once I can name them, I will. But and then Continue On. So it's being split between those nonprofits to hopefully, so not just our message saves lives, but hopefully the funds and proceeds that come from this film can help save lives. And Continue On's mission, my nonprofit that I created, and that Rachel and Olivia are on the board of my nonprofit. Our entire initiative and goal is to create a subsidy that get youth the mental health services they need in time of struggle. I firsthand witnessed how expensive it is, and I could barely afford it as, a 35-year-old woman. So I just was like, we have to do something. So our dream is to create a subsidy to match, people, underprivileged youth with mental health care providers in their area and pay for 100% of the services.
And anything that we can do to help that, you just let us know. I think that is an absolutely beautiful thing, and it is going to save lives, and it is going to help so many people. And any way that we can help that, you just say the word, and we are there, and we will do it. And don't ever change. You curse like a sailor. Seriously. You just be you. Because Nadine, you are an amazing human being. You are just a true gem. We are honored to know you and call you a friend. We love you, and you keep being you and doing you. And thank you so much, honestly.
And I love you guys right back, by the way. That's why the second you watched the film and you wrote me, I'm like, done. Let's make this.
You did. You were like on it. You were quick. I was like, oh, okay,
I saw it, I was like, 100%. Oh, this Thursday? Yup, I'm on. Like, we're doing this. So, and like, what can you do to support that? You already are. I mean, by giving me this platform to talk about it, but so many people to talk about it. I just think it's incredible what you guys are doing. So I want to say, I love you guys right back. You're badass. There's a reason why I'm on your podcast again, having a beautiful conversation. And it is because you give such a safe space. What I create on sets, you guys create in your podcast. There's no judgment. You feel safe. They're great questions. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had interviews and you're like, That is the cringiest question, and I don't know how to answer that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're just like, how do I answer that? I'm gonna give the answer I want to that because I don't know how to answer that. And you guys are
Right.
just it's because you guys care about what you do. So hats off to you as well.
Well, thank you so much. That means everything to us because we just try to keep it real. We don't go in with a set series of questions. We just let the conversation go and we just talk real. And because we do care, and that it's what it's all about. And so, but thank you. Those words mean everything to us, and we appreciate when people recognize what we try to do. And thank you so much.
Of course, thank you.
Of course, of course. Well, listen, again, you're amazing. You are awesome. All the positive affirmations, all of it. But we will reach out to you soon, and we're super excited for people to hear this episode.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity. And I can't wait for us to have another chat. I need to hurry and go make another movie so we can come back again.
Yeah, we're going to have to make a movie together. I'm telling you, that would be amazing because you just seem like very like-minded with the way we approach making films as well. Yeah. So, oh my God, that would be amazing. We'll talk.
Yeah, we're in pre-production right now on a short film that we're looking to shoot in Louisiana. So we're right there with you. We might reach out for some pointers from you.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, hell yeah. Listen, I'm here anytime. I will send you privately my phone number so that you can text me or whatever. I'm really bad at actually Instagram messages. Actually, I'm going to change that language. I'm not, because I've been writing every person who's written me about the movie. Anyone.
Wow, nice.
Every single person back. Sometimes it takes me a little bit because there's a lot.
Yeah.
But I've gotten through every single one of them, from the nonprofit, the continues, and because I think people think I have a team. I'm like, I run all three of those accounts. I answer the messages, I share the thing, so it's
you do an amazing job. You do amazing. You're fantastic. Listen,
so call me, I will give you any pointers, and I will help in any way I can too.
Bless you. Yeah, we will definitely do that. And same thing, like I said, anything that we can ever do to help you, that's what it's all about. It's how we all get along. It's how we all do it, right? It's all working as a team. So, we love you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We know you're busy. Now go spend time as a mom.
I know. Yeah. I'm about to. I'm lucky this kid didn't already barge in. So.
Right? Exactly. All right. Take care.
Guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, my goodness. Just another fantastic conversation with another fantastic person. But, I mean, the second we met Nadine on ItCaf podcast, like, we just knew. We knew there was something that was deeper than just film and television. This conversation it was so beautiful, man. It was so beautiful. She
is, like what we say all the time, she is tribe. She is one of us. She is a human being with the best heart and lives life for all the right reasons. I feel truly blessed and fortunate every single day that we have the people in our lives that we have, and that doing what we do, we get to meet people like this, because it's incredible. It's incredible. And I just want everybody out there to know that so many more people are like this. I know we are hit every day with the bad shit, right? That's all everybody ever wants to talk about. But the world is filled with people like Nadine. And that's where you need to focus. Whether your circle is small or big, that's where you need to focus, and just know that everything is okay and that there are good people out there, and she is one of them for sure.
That's all we need, man. That's all we need, is to remember that everything's okay.